Hi there. Now we are going to do lesson 93. Light and joy and peace abide in me. Light and joy and peace abide in me. Isn't that a beautiful statement to make, a declaration of our birthright? Paragraph 1. You think you are at the home of evil, darkness, and sin. You think if anyone could see the truth about you, he would be repelled, recoiling from you as if from a poisonous snake. You think if what is true about you were revealed to you, you would be struck with horror so intense that you would rush to death by your own hand, living on after seeing this being impossible. You know, we have all been conditioned to believe that we are, depending on your ethnic background, depending on your religion, your culture, that there's something wrong, something dirty, something sinful, something not worthy inside of us, something unlovable. So all of us, when we begin to hear somebody talk about the truth of who we are, we have a really hard time. We really truly think that there is no way that we'll be able to go on living, that it will be impossible for us to continue living our life if people knew who we really were. So being able to hear the truth of who we are is very uncomfortable to the ego, because the ego keeps a lot of secrets, a lot of things that have activated our shame, our disconnection from the truth of who we are. So that's why Jesus is making this very clear. It does bother the ego to think that we're going to hear our truth. But any resistance, any kind of discomfort that comes up when you hear, let's listen to the truth of who you are, hold the position that what you're hearing is something new that you want to live into. If it doesn't make sense to you that you are the light, the joy, and the peace, that abides in you as your truth, just give yourself a little bit of space and just say, I'm going to be open to the possibility that this could be my truth. So hold a little space for it to come into you. You may not receive it fully inside, but you can at least receive it here, and then take it in. Take care of yourself. We are moving. This is a bridge from illusion to reality, from fear to love. So from mistaken identities to the truth of who we really are. So we got to take it easy as we receive these truths. But they are the truths that we have to be hearing. Paragraph 2. These are beliefs, these thoughts that there's something wrong with us and that would make us recoil. These are beliefs so firmly fixed that it is difficult to help you see that they are based on nothing. That you have made mistakes, it's obvious. We've all made mistakes. That you have sought salvation in strange ways, have been deceived, deceiving and afraid of foolish fantasies and savage dreams, and have bowed down to idols made of dust. All this is true by what you now believe. Yes, we have bowed down and worshipped idols like money, like parents, like churches, like leaders, like government. We have bowed down to spouses, to jobs, to careers, to accolades, to the paparazzi, yes, we have bowed down to movie stars and famous people. We've done that, and we have been deceived, and we have deceived others. So it is important that we begin to see that yes, we've all done those kinds of things because we didn't know the truth of who we are. Now we're learning the truth of who we are, and that's going to begin to remove all of these untruths, be able to cleanse ourselves from these secrets that we've been holding. Paragraph 3. Today we question this. We're going to question what's not true. Not from the point of view of what you think, but from a very different reference point from which such idle thoughts are meaningless. These thoughts are not according to God's will. The thoughts that we hold, the ego thoughts. These weird beliefs he does not share with you. This is enough to prove that they are wrong. But you do not perceive that it is so, because once you believe something is true, once you agree with it, it becomes your truth. And even if we say, or you hear Jesus saying, this is what God says is the truth, you will not buy into God's truth unless you're willing to shift your perception from your truth to God's truth. Paragraph 4. Why would you not be overjoyed to be assured that all the evil that you think you did was never done, that all your sins are nothing, and you are as pure and holy as you were created, and that light and joy and peace abide in you? Why wouldn't you be overjoyed at that assurance? Sentence number 2, your image of yourself cannot withstand the will of God. The will of God is done. It is absolutely set into motion. It's what this universe is all about. Now, you can deny it, but your ego will never be able to withstand God's will, because at some point God's will prevail. It has to. You think that this is death, but it is life. We think it is dying to the ego and to ourselves. And in a way, yes, because we're leaving that behind, like a child puts down a toy that we outgrow. I put down my little slippers that I wore when I was 3 years old, when it was time to get bigger slippers. And today I don't wear anything like that. It doesn't mean that there was a death to the slipper, but I had to put it down. I had to let it go. At some point, we have to let go of what the ego has told us so that we can receive the truth according to God's will. You think you are destroyed, but you are saved. We are coming alive. That's what happens to us. We're going to come back alive, full of light, joy, and peace. Paragraph 5. The self you made is not the Son of God. Therefore, this self does not exist at all. And anything it seems to do and think means nothing. It is neither bad nor good. It is unreal and nothing more than that. It does not battle with the Son of God. It does not hurt him nor attack his peace. It has not changed creation nor reduced eternal sinlessness to sin and love to hate. Our image of ourselves, our ego identity, has not affected what is real, and no matter how much you believe it, it will never be able to be the truth, because the truth is who God made you to be. The ego is just a mask over the truth. So what power can this self you made possess when it would contradict the will of God? Ponder that. How can you, who have not created the earth, not created the stars, the moons, and the universes, how can your idea of yourself as not good enough, not lovable enough, not perfect enough, how can that deny the truth of the Creator who created us and created the stars, the moons, the galaxies, the whole universe? When you begin to weigh the two, isn't it pretty silly that we have a small idea of ourselves and God has a grand idea of ourselves? And yet we never launched the planet into orbit and God has? I think I'm going to trust God. Paragraph 6. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over and over, this must be repeated until it is accepted. We're being asked to receive what is true about us, because it says it is true. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Nothing can touch it or change what God created as eternal. We are being told the magnificence, the truth of who we are. The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless. It's all in our head. And if we stop believing that and we start receiving the truth of who we are, those thoughts in your head go away. Now listen, I know that this is challenging. It took me several years to get past believing that because I grew up Catholic, I was sinful and I was receiving the truth, that I was perfect as God created me. It felt very uncomfortable to tell myself something that the church taught me wasn't true. And once I agreed with the church and the church was right, I felt like, oh my God, is lightning going to strike me because I'm saying that my sinlessness is guaranteed by God? When I began to read these things, I felt like I was just totally, completely not trusting my grandmother or my father who was Catholic. Like I was ashamed of the idea of betraying them. So I had to work through all of that. And that's what this course is helping us do, giving us a year to receive this. And then guess what? I've been at it for more than 6 years. I'm going to keep reading this book for as long as I think I will be alive. because it just keeps reinforcing the truth that has been true always. And that's the only thing I want in my consciousness. But this is not an easy thing to do, but it is a necessary step that we receive what God said is true. Because how else are we going to let go of what's not true? We have to get grounded in the truth first. Do the work necessary to receive the truth. Once the truth is firmly grasped inside of us, because we will begin to feel it. I promise you, you will begin to feel that if you haven't already felt it. Then it becomes, oh my gosh, the peace, the light, the joy. You will feel it inside. And all the ego talk will have no power over you. So sentence number 6 in paragraph 6. The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God, and light and joy and peace abide in you. Paragraph 7. Salvation requires the acceptance of but one thought. You are as God created you. That's it. Not what you made of yourself, but you are, I am as God created us. Not what the church defines us to be, or mother or father or teacher or preacher or government or the media defines us to be, but we have to acknowledge that we are as God created us. Now our work is to discover, what is that? What does that look like? What, through the books, through the teachings, many have pointed the way to this truth. Our work is, as we read this, if you're reading A Course in Miracles and you're at this lesson, if you're this far into this, at some level, something has resonated with you that this is true, and you already receive it and accept it as possible. The work now is just to repeat it so much, to do these exercises so much that it becomes second nature. It just has to be your true nature. So we're accepting something, receiving something that may take a little bit of time. So again, be gentle with yourself. This is a journey of self-love. Love yourself through this discomfort, and you're going to be okay if you keep at it. Sentence number 2 in paragraph 7. Whatever evil you may think you did, you are as God created you. Whatever mistakes you made, the truth about you is unchanged. Creation is eternal and unalterable. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God, by the authority, by the one that created the whole universe. Don't you believe that that one knows the truth? You are and will forever be exactly as you were created. Light and joy and peace abide in you because God put them there. That's why they're in you. That's where God placed them. The Bible doesn't teach us that. The scholars don't really speak to that because their mind has been programmed that God is outside of them. But the love, the joy that is God, the peace, it's inside of us because God is inside of us. That's what the Course wants us to recognize. We're waking up to that awareness so we can allow God to embody us fully, to fill our bodies with love, light, and peace so we can be the salvation in the world. But first, we got to clean up our mind so that we're not the ones who are condemning the world with judgments. We are cleaning up our judgments. We're cleaning up our misguided perceptions of ourselves and our mistaken perceptions, and receiving the truth that we are, practice embodying it, and then we can be the light of the world in the world. Paragraph 8. In our longer exercise periods today, which would be most profitable if done for the first 5 minutes of every waking hour? First 5 minutes. Begin by stating the truth about your creation. Light and joy and peace abide in me. At first, this was hard for me to say, but then, oh my gosh, it's the truth. It's deliciousness. It's like liquid honey just being drank and just soothing every little bit of me. This is pure, pure joy to state this truth. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Talk about the power of forgiveness right here. If God only knows me as sinless, of course I forgive myself for believing my sins because my sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Go to sentence number 4, paragraph 8. Then put away your foolish self-images and spend the rest of the practice period in trying to experience what God has given you in place of what you have decreed for yourself. This is the work. We got to create the time to try to experience that. What would that feel like? When have I been joyful, peaceful, happy? When have I been the light? And begin to activate that in you so that 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 little spark can begin to grow, and you can begin to own that, yeah, I've had moments of that. Now our work is to string it together so we have hours of it, weeks of it, months of it, and eventually an entire life of it going forward. In future lifetimes, of course, we will come back knowing this truth, because the awakening is accelerating for everybody. So we're going to be coming in the future, in new incarnations, as fully awake. It's beautiful what's happening. Paragraph 9. You are what God created or what you made. That's it. We can only be one of those two things. Now, one self is true, the other is not there. So we can only be what God created if we couldn't make ourselves. I didn't make myself. So I'm going to accept that I am as God created me. Try to experience the unity of your one self, capital S self. When we begin to feel that union between my head and my heart, between God and I can begin to feel that self that resides in me, that capital S self, that holy self. Try to appreciate its holiness and the love from which it was created. Try not to interfere with the self which God created as you by hiding its majesty behind the tiny idols of evil and sinfulness you have made to replace it. We're being asked to accept the truth of who we are. This is a sacred moment. This is a sacred lesson. We are receiving our holiness. We have to acknowledge it. That's the only way it's going to be received. It is there, but we have to receive it. We have to do whatever it takes to say, yes, God, you that created everything, created me. There wasn't you creating everything else and then I showed up and made myself. That's not possible. I am as God created me. That's the only possibility. Let it come into its own. That self, that capital S self, let yourself experience that flowering, blossoming, just activating inside of you. Here you are. This is you. And light and joy and peace abide in you because this is so, because that's where God placed it. Paragraph 10. You may not be willing or even able to use the first 5 minutes of each hour for these exercises. Try, however, to do so when you can. At least remember to repeat thoughts each hour. Repeat these thoughts. Light and joy and peace abide in me. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over time, you're going to feel a softening. You're going to begin to say, maybe this is really true. And as you say those words, it's going to feel good. The ego may not like that, and it may go a little bit berserk. But as you say it, it's going to feel good at some point, and that's when you will have touched yourself, your holy self inside, because your holy self will be hearing you speak, think what it knows is true inside of you. Then try to devote at least a minute or so to closing your eyes and realizing that this is a statement of the truth about you. Light and joy and peace abide in me. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God, the maker of everything. Paragraph 11. If a situation arises that seems to be disturbing, quickly dispel the illusion of fear by repeating these thoughts again. Should you be tempted to become angry with someone, tell him silently, light and joy and peace abide in you. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. So not only are we saying it here, but if we feel an activation of a disturbance with somebody else, we need to say it about them because God made all of us. This is what's going to lead us to recognize that we're all made in the image of God, made the same. Not one of us has anything that the other doesn't. This is what makes us one. One son, one daughter of God. We are all one. Sentence number 5 in paragraph 11. You can do much for the world's salvation today. You can do much today to bring you closer to the part in salvation that God has assigned to you. And you can do much today to bring the conviction to your mind that the idea for the day is true indeed. It's your acceptance of this idea that will make it true for you. Thanks a bunch and enjoy this beautiful lesson. Enjoy remembering the truth of who you are. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.